I know there's been a lot of great wrestling in Greensboro on TBS over the years. I'm excited to bring it back there. We're bringing blood and guts to Greensboro, and AEW's had such special memories in Greensboro. And isn't that fitting for the history of pro wrestling that Sting's retirement match, no matter which company it happens with, Jon Moxley since day one has been one of the most important stars in AEW, but backstage, Jon Moxley's also, as you've correctly assessed, one of the most important people backstage in AEW. Somebody more akin to maybe Lex Luthor is MJF, who's one of the top villains. A rich jerk, a lot like Lex Luthor, a manipulative person, a lot like Lex Luthor, so a lot of similarities there.
What is going on, my good people? Of course, it is Carolina's favorite fat boy, DJ Danny Ocean, host of the hottest night show on the planet, the number one night show in the country, thanks to you guys, the Danny Ocean Show on 101.9 KISS FM. You guys know I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I've brought you some amazing wrestling interviews from some of the biggest wrestlers across the industry. I don't think it gets much bigger than today, though. But you guys know I don't do this thing alone. I've got my bros with me, Matthew, Malik Wilson. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Salutations. How you doing?
All is good. All is good. And, of course, I got my man, Johnny Dirt Sheet. Johnny, what's up?
What's up, everybody?
Everything's good. And like I said, it doesn't get much bigger than this, guys. We know AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts is coming to Greensboro on November 12th. Those tickets are on sale right now, AEWTix.com. Get yours if you haven't already. But we've got the CEO of the company on the show today. Tony Khan, what is going on, man?
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me on. A lot is going on, and I'm so excited about AEW. We've got a huge Title Tuesday coming up hours from now at 8 p.m. on TBS. I know there's been a lot of great wrestling in Greensboro on TBS over the years. I'm excited to bring it back there November 12th. We got a big show coming up hours from now in my hometown, Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be able to watch that coming up, Title Tuesday, coming up just hours from now, 8 p.m. Eastern there in North Carolina, 8 p.m. Eastern on TBS, or you can stream it on HBO Max. That's a special Tuesday Dynamite. It's the only time we do Tuesday, and it's just coming up hours from now, but I can't wait to be there for Wednesday Night Dynamite, November 12th. It's quite possibly the single biggest episode and quite possibly the single best episode every year of AEW television. We're bringing blood and guts to Greensboro, and AEW's had such special memories in Greensboro, a town with one of the richest legacies of pro wrestling ever. There's so much great wrestling in Greensboro. I'm such a big fan of pro wrestling, and I love wrestling so much, but you can't tell the history of pro wrestling without talking about Greensboro, North Carolina. And I was so honored that we were able to go and have one of the best shows in the history of AEW. I think my favorite night ever in the sport was Revolution 2024, Sting's retirement match in Greensboro, in this very same building where we'll be coming up very soon, Wednesday, November 12th. You can get your tickets now at AEWTIX.com. It's going to be a great show, Blood and Guts. It's awesome every year. And I have to say, I'm really, really proud of the AEW team and how hard everybody's working this year. And really excited about this Blood and Guts event because AEW last year, we had so many big events. And certainly, I think, like I said, Greensboro Revolution 2024 might have been the best show we've ever done. So I'm excited to come back to Greensboro and have our biggest TV show of the year after we had such a big pay-per-view there last year.
Now, I actually wanted to start off by asking you, since you are bringing blood and guts back to Greensboro here, what made you decide that Greensboro was the right choice for such a big episode of Dynamite?
Well, we've had such success in Greensboro. AEW holds all the pro wrestling business records in Greensboro, which is crazy to think. But the record for the Greensboro Coliseum for attendance, the biggest gate ever in the history of the city or the Greensboro Coliseum, was for Sting's retirement match. And isn't that fitting for the history of pro wrestling that Sting's retirement match, no matter which company it happens with, that a Sting retirement match, and it happened to be in AEW, having this classic match, retiring undefeated Sting in AEW. Sting went undefeated his entire run for 3 years From Revolution 2021 to Revolution 2024, Sting won every match he was in, teaming with Darby Allin. They retired as World Tag Team Champions. And of course, Darby Allin competes at the top level in AEW to this day, but Sting went out on top,
Oh yeah,
defeating the Young Bucks to retain the World Tag Team titles in one of the greatest matches, and I think the greatest retirement match ever. And
it was
very
amazing.
fitting that we come back there for blood and guts. We've certainly spilled some blood and guts in that building, in that match in particular. So I know
Oh yeah.
that the people will be up for it. I know the fans will be excited for it. And I know Greensboro really supports wrestling. And now we know Greensboro really supports AEW as well.
Definitely. Now, that was actually the first event that I worked media with you guys. Thank you for that, by the way. Um, Speaking on Sting's last match, because I've always been curious about this myself. I'm a wrestling fan through and through, as I know you are. We both grew up watching this sport, and Sting's always been an icon within this sport. So, what was it like for you, not only as the promoter, but as a fan, watching Sting have that last match in Greensboro last year?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Sting. I have to say that Sting, growing up for me as a kid, is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I've been following the history of wrestling since I was 8 years old, studying it, trying to learn about it. And Sting is such a huge part of the sport, and it was so amazing to have Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat there. I don't think
Yes.
you can tell the history of wrestling in North Carolina without Ric Flair. I have so much respect for Rick, and Rick is such a huge part of Sting's career. I happen to have the uh, privilege of working with Sting, Ric Flair, and Ricky Steamboat on that retirement match, and having Flair and Steamboat involved in Sting's retirement match here in AEW, and
Amazing.
that was probably the greatest moment ever for me.
That's awesome. Now, like you said to start, Title Tuesday is actually going down well before Blood and Guts. That goes down tomorrow night on TBS and Max. Make sure you tune in. A lot of big matches on that card. A lot of amazing talent on that card. We got Kyle versus Kyle again for the TNT Championship. Looking forward to that one. Mercedes is having a TBS Championship Open Challenge. That's going to be amazing. We're going to see Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page go face to face. You know, they have their title match coming up at Wrestle Dream, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's going
Very
to be an
good, Danny.
amazing night. A lot of amazing talent on the AEW roster. One of your slogans is "Where the best wrestle," and we've seen
That's
talent come from other companies like Swerve and Tony Storm come to AEW. They become huge stars. What is it you felt like you saw in these guys and girls that made you say, "Okay, I want to put the rocket ship on your back, and I want to see what you can really do"?
Well, those are two great examples. I think Swerve Strickland was a tremendous young wrestler who I'd seen on TV. I thought he was excellent. And as I got to know him, I think he's been a phenomenal signing for AEW. He's a
He is.
former world champion, former world tag team champion. He's accomplished so much, and he has so much still in front of him in his career. Swerve Strickland was a great wrestler, and I was excited to bring him to AEW. And then also, you mentioned Timeless Tony Storm as somebody that signed as a free agent here. Timeless Tony Storm is just so fantastic.
Oh yes.
She is known now as Timeless Tony Storm. She arrived with a great reputation as a worldwide phenomenon, Tony Storm, this really exciting young wrestler who'd been all over the world. And she built this great reputation. But I saw something in Tony Storm that was totally different than any wrestler I've worked with. And she had a presence that I felt was more like Betty Davis or a character like Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard. But Tony's
Nice.
so young and just such a young, charming, uh, powerful young lady. And for me, I thought there would be a great opportunity to tell some stories, to work with our partners at Turner Classic Movies. You are on TBS tomorrow for Title Tuesday, and we do wrestling every week on TBS and TNT. But this brought TCM into the situation. I love old movies, and I asked Tony Storm a long time ago, "Have you ever seen Sunset Boulevard or All About Eve in particular?" And she had not, and she really has come so far. But this is all things that were really inside of Tony Storm, I believe, the whole time. She had this presence, and she's unlocked it, and I think it's phenomenal. And I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
proud she's been able to find it. And I've had the fortune to have a few good ideas over the years in wrestling, and I think one of them certainly was introducing Tony Storm to classic films. When I thought about that a couple years ago, and who would have thought it would take the turn it has. And Timeless Toni Storm is one of the greatest wrestlers ever in AEW. Toni Storm is a great free agent signing, and then
Absolutely.
Timeless Toni Storm took it to a whole nother level as one of our best stars ever.
For sure. Now, I just started working on the independent scene myself here in North Carolina. Shout out to United Pro Wrestling. And I look for up and coming talent to work our events too. So, what is it that you look for in new talent to give a shot on the Ring of Honor and AEW rosters?
Well, it just completely depends. You have to see something, and the fans have to see something sometimes. Sometimes you see something in someone the fans haven't seen it in yet,
Right.
and that's good too. So I just look for people I think could fit into a situation in AEW, people we could develop into a role that fits what they are, and try to tap into the skills people have and build off of their strengths. And too often, I think, in sports and certainly in wrestling included, you see people playing to the strengths, but also it's really important to not always focus on any particular person's weaknesses, because everybody has them. And people succeed, and every single person who succeeded in life, other than Jesus Christ himself, everybody's ever done anything in life has had some kind of weakness. So I think it's important to really look at the strengths, whether you're evaluating football player or a pro wrestler in AEW. I want to see what people can do well, and then figure out how we can utilize that for them and AEW.
Awesome. Okay. Malik, what you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time. We were there at Full Gear. You were very gracious in answering my question about Jon Moxley. I wanted to personally thank you for that. It meant a lot to me. But let's start there. So, Jon Moxley, looking at him in his character development lately, he seems like, I'm a football guy. I'm on Jets Roundtable Sports. They're covering wrestling soon. Make sure you look out for them. They're dogs over there. Trust me. He seems like, as a sports guy, he seems like he can be the perfect starting quarterback for AEW. He can do whatever you need. You can put the title on him. He can run the background, whatever. His storyline with Marina Shafir, Yuta, and now Daniel Garcia being like this mentor, and even like certain segments with Chris Statlander, who I'll ask you about in a second too. How does it feel to have like that type of quarterback in AEW?
It's incredible. Jon Moxley, since day one, has been one of the most important stars in AEW. But backstage, Jon Moxley's also, as you've correctly assessed, one of the most important people backstage in AEW. Everybody in AEW has so much respect for Jon Moxley. He arrived in AEW as a huge star. And since we started AEW, he's been the most consistent presence on the show, week in, week out, on all of our shows. Jon Moxley works so hard. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He's a phenomenal leader. He's a genius about pro wrestling. And Jon Moxley is one of my favorite people I've ever gotten to work with. And I'm really, really proud that Jon Moxley is in AEW. I think he was a fantastic world champion time after time after time in AEW. Everything he's done in this company has been to the benefit of AEW. And Jon Moxley's a phenomenal, phenomenal wrestler.
Right. And it's on the other side of that, Chris Statlander, she was on our show, right? And I asked her this question. It was, you familiar with 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying?
Mm-hmm.
I asked her a question. I said, what is the thing you want to accomplish in AEW or Die Trying? She mentioned being the AEW Women's Champion. She's now accomplished that. Seeing everything that she's been through, the injuries that set her back, as her promoter, what's it like having a talent that you can see overcome and flourish like that, and now be pretty much at the top of her game as the AEW Women's Champion?
I totally agree with that. I think Chris Statlander is such a phenomenal wrestler, and Chris is also a great person. She came into AEW as a young lady, and she was a very talented athlete, and she has developed. She's developed her personality, she's developed her wrestling skills, and she's become the top female wrestler, I believe, on the planet. And she holds the championship that she won, defeating somebody who's been, I think, the greatest women's wrestler we've ever had in AEW, top to bottom, start to finish, which is Timeless Toni Storm. And Chris Statlander beat Toni Storm in a four-way match. Toni Storm's been the champion at that point for over 7 months, took on every challenger to that point, and then in one night decided to take on the top three challengers all at once at AEW All Out. It was a great show, AEW All Out. And one of the real highlights, I believe, is when Chris Statlander won that world championship, pinning Timeless Tony Storm. And they have never had a one-on-one match until the next pay-per-view, AEW Wrestle Dream. It'll be the first time ever Timeless Tony Storm versus Chris Statlander one-on-one. They've never wrestled, and now they're fighting for the world championship under these huge circumstances. Chris ended Tony's dominant reign as champion. She pinned Tony Storm in the four-way, but they've never had a one-on-one match until Wrestle Dream. It's just days away, and I'm very much looking forward to that match and that pay-per-view. It's going to be a great show, and that match, for a match that I've held back and never announced. I've never made that match. I'm very excited. It's one we've been saving, and it's going to be a dream match for me and I think a lot of the fans. And I'm really excited for Wrestle Dream, Chris Statlander versus Tony Storm.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And I just have one more question, and I'll let you go. So, Tony, obviously, you see the symbol in the background. Obviously, I'm a Jets guy. But I'm saying this to say this. You are also the chief football strategy officer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you're very successful with AEW. And it seems like everything that you're part of everything that you touch turns into gold. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 3-1 in the AFC South. They're tied for second, but they have the opportunity, if they win against the Kansas City Chiefs this week, to be in tied position for first place. Looking at the development of Trevor Lawrence, how is it like I'm a big story guy, so how has it been seeing the development of this Jacksonville Jaguars team? And is there anything so far this season that has surprised you in their success? Because
Well,
you've played a big part of that.
I think that we have really made great hires. My dad led a great search. He hired a tremendous young head coach with Liam Cohen, who's doing a fantastic job. Liam Cohen has come in and he's had great success early in his career, but I also think he's going to be able to sustain this success. I think Liam Cohen's a tremendous play caller and also a great leader. And in his first year as a head coach, that's why he's having great success in his early games, and I think he can keep it going. We have a great group of leaders around him. Tony Baselli is somebody very experienced in the NFL, somebody who's a great player, a Hall of Fame player, a Jaguars legend, and he knows the Jaguars organization and the community better than anybody. And he brings all that experience, not only here on a local level, but also on a national level as a Hall of Fame player and somebody that's covered the NFL in the media. And Tony Baselli, in addition to his Hall of Fame credentials, is a great person also. And we also paired up James Gladstone with these guys. And James Gladstone is a top young general manager. It's crazy how young James is. And it's amazing how intelligent, how sharp, how hardworking he is. And again, what a quality human being James is. So we have a great group of people. And I think the Jaguars and the city of Jacksonville and the community deserve a great season. And I'm really excited about what's happening with the Jaguars. I think it's going to be a tremendous season for the team. We got a great group of players and a great staff, and now some really great leadership with those new hires.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
What you got, Johnny?
All right, Mr. Tony Khan, how you doing? I just have a couple of questions for you. I am a longtime IWC forum guy. I kind of see myself. Not I see myself in you. I'm not nowhere near successful, but I kind of live vicariously through you as like living the dream, the unique dream of a wrestling internet forum dweller that grows up to run his actual own promotion. So my question is a bit of a perspective one. As someone who grew up kind of reading the Observer and the Torch and newsletters and talking to forums and everything like that, how is it to be on the other side of that glass? Like you're now the person who's being reported on. There are rumors about your company, and now how does that change? Because when we come up, we don't have any idea what's going on the other side of the glass, so we take the rumors as they are and everything. Now that you see them coming out from the other side, how is that? Like, has that changed how you see wrestling journalism?
Yes, it absolutely has. And I love pro wrestling. I still love talking to the fans because I am a big fan of pro wrestling, just like you guys. Working in the wrestling business now for over 6 years, I've certainly learned a lot. And firsthand, you see the differences. I would equate it, and again, these are unique experiences to me, but coming into the NFL, it's my 14th season working in the NFL, and there's certainly a big difference between fantasy football and football, and dealing with real injuries, real people, real lives, and communication, which you don't have to do with your fantasy roster. And writing pro wrestling shows is very different than actually being there, putting a show together with people. And I started writing Dynamite when I was 12 years old as a fan of wrestling and somebody on the early dial up internet message boards.
Oh, wow.
And Dynamite now, it's crazy to say, I've been writing Dynamite for 30 years since I was a small kid in 1995, and for over 30 years now, I guess. And doing it in real life is a lot different, dealing with lots of injuries, dealing with real people and real situations. And I'm really glad that I have got that experience working in football that I have, and continue to work in football, dealing with the most elite athletes in the world and seeing injuries and seeing great leadership, and continue to learn from that and be inspired by that every day. Had also worked with great leaders. Tom Coughlin is somebody who I am completely different than, and I have a very different outlook than, but also I really like Tom Coughlin. I learned a lot working for Tom Coughlin, and I have a ton of respect for him as a leader and as a man and a great man. And he is somebody who came from a very different approach than always looking through statistics and analytics, but his football mind, his football IQ is through the roof. And I was very fortunate to learn a lot from him. And I do think that in football or wrestling or any sport where you're dealing with elite athletes and the very top of their profession, it's a lot different than putting down ideas on paper when you're dealing with not only real people, but elite people, top athletes at the top of their profession.
Oh, thank you. One final question. This one's a fun little promo. I'm going to throw you an easy one. DC Comics and AEW come together with this excellent collaboration. You've got a crossover comic, the stars of AEW meeting basically the Justice League, minus Superman, which is interesting. I'm not sure if I can ask you about that. I don't know if you guys can get into that. But oh my gosh, I just threw my whole train of thought off thinking about Superman. I'm sorry. DC Comics has a trinity known as the Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They're known as a trinity. Who do you think are AEW's trinity? There's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
It's a great question. Well, I would say if do I get to pick a Lex Luthor?
You can.
Absolutely.
You absolutely can.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a great question because I think that if you had to cast those roles, I think John Moxley, Batman. John Moxley, Batman, the blue collar hero is very different than Bruce Wayne, the white collar hero. But still, these guys, they work so hard. They have a different approach. Sometimes their methods could be questioned, but I think they're both so consistent, and they're both the all around top people in their profession. So Batman and John Moxley, I would think, is a great comparison. For Wonder Woman, certainly Timeless Tony Storm is somebody that would be very consistent with that. And actually, I took Timeless Tony Storm along with a group of AEW wrestlers to do a shoot with the actors from Superman, and Timeless Tony Storm and Lois Lane, fittingly enough, had a great scene together. And Rachel Brosnahan was really cool. Rachel Brosnahan and Timeless Tony Storm shot a video together, and that was really cool. For Superman, boy, that's a hard one to pick. And I could think of many people that would fit the bill. Certainly, the AEW World Champion, the top of the profession right now, is Hangman Adam Page. And so I think you would give him that red cape. But certainly, over AEW's history, a lot of people have been the great champion, including Samoa Joe. And Hangman Page versus Samoa Joe,
Yes.
it's coming up very soon at Wrestle Dream. And they'll be fighting for the World Championship and that metaphorical Superman red cape that has also been held by Kenny Omega, one of the top people in the profession. and a lot of other top people. Somebody more akin to maybe Lex Luthor, who also shared a screen with Nicholas Holt when we did that DC shoot, is MJF, who's one of the top villains and a schemer,
Perfect.
a rich jerk, a lot like Lex Luthor, a manipulative person, a lot like Lex Luthor. So a lot of similarities there, I think. Darby Allen is somebody who also flies through the air, does crazy things. Will Ospreay, one of the great heroes in AEW, who we're excited to get back from injury, who is like a comic book hero himself, and a lot of great names that would fit this bill for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Awesome. Well, Tony, like I said, we know you're a busy man. You got a lot going on, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. To close out, I got to ask you, for the fans coming all over to Greensboro on November 12th, can you tell the people why Blood and Guts will be a can't-miss event? Why is it a must-see event?
Blood and Guts is the hardest hitting, most brutal spectacle in pro wrestling. It's one giant cage with two wrestling rings inside of it. And it is a massive, massive event. It is so exciting. You get wrestler after wrestler going into that cage, beating each other senseless. It is going to be blood spilled. It's going to be intense. It's going to be a great night of hard hitting fighting. There'll be some wrestling, but there'll also be a lot of brawling, hard hitting. It's just the best of all worlds. You don't want to miss it. Blood and Guts coming to Greensboro November 12th, Wednesday, November 12th. You can get the tickets now, AEWTIX.com, AEWTix.com, or you can buy them at the arena. And before then, don't miss, we're just hours away. Title Tuesday, a special Tuesday night Dynamite. You can watch it coming up hours from now, Title Tuesday, tomorrow night on TBS, the Superstation. Again, what a rich history of pro wrestling on the Superstation TBS, especially there around Greensboro, North Carolina.
For sure.
And very excited for that. Title Tuesday coming up on TBS and HBO Max tomorrow night. And we'll see you soon when we're back on Wednesday night Dynamite, Blood and Guts, November 12th, right there in Greensboro.
Definitely. Well, Tony, thank you again for your time. People, don't forget, tune in to Title Tuesday. Coming up in a few short hours. Make sure you tune in. Hell of a card. It's going to be an amazing event. And get those tickets for Blood and Guts. We'll talk to you soon. Tony, thank you again, man.
Thank you.
Good God.